Voilà, bonjour à tous. Je m'appelle Sonia Ranou, je suis là aujourd'hui pour Grenoble Indian Film Festival, un autre moment unique que nous allons vivre aujourd'hui avec une comédienne indienne qui est avec nous. On la remercie beaucoup, c'est Taranjit Kaur qui est avec nous, comédienne et également elle écrit des scénarios, elle est en train de nous proposer un court-métrage prochainement et également une poète qui va nous terminer cette séance par un peu de poésie, hein, ça fait toujours du bien. Donc, Taranjit est quelqu'un qui a un profil très intéressant si on regarde le parcours qu'elle a fait. Elle a été dans un film qui a été donc présenté aux Oscars, hein, c'est intéressant. Ensuite, vous l'avez vu peut-être dans Ankhon Dekhi et ça c'est encore un moment qui a été un grand succès, hein, donc en Inde, dans le cinéma indien. Elle choisit des thématiques de films un peu à part, un peu différents de ce qu'on a l'habitude de voir. On ne peut pas dire que c'est une comédienne qui fait du Bollywood, c'est plutôt, on va dire, cinéma indépendant. Euh, Jusqu'à cinéma d'art et d'essai, mais elle aime bien explorer des univers un peu différents. C'est une fille curieuse qui aime également beaucoup voyager et découvrir des choses différentes. I just said a couple of lines in French. Delighted to have you with us. So happy to have you with us. We had the opportunity to share info at Cannes not so long ago, a couple of years ago, but so much happens in 1 or 2 years. And everybody's made progress with going into a new film, doing different things. I spoke very briefly saying that you had a film that was at the Oscars, then you work on Ankhon Dekhi, then you've done so many different things, but also the profile in itself is interesting because I think you like exploring, you're curious, and you like going into all these different spheres with poetry, with writing. You've got a short film that's coming, and you're going to be speaking about that. How did you, Taranjit, how did you come into cinema? Give us a little bit of the
Hi,
background.
hi Sonia. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me over. I'm very excited to see you after the Cannes Film Festival last year, where I met you. Um, so the story of joining cinema began as early as when I was 14 years old. I started doing theatre and trained professionally in theatre with Neela Mansingh Chaudhary, who's from NST. Traveled all over the world and in India performing plays. But the shift to cinema happened in 2011 when I worked in this German film called Raju, which was shot in Kolkata, where I play the director of an orphanage directed by Max Zell. Primarily because the film really made it big. It won a Student Oscar Academy Award. It was in Cannes Film Festival and it was in every possible film festival in the world. So that really gave me a kind of opening into the world of cinema. Also because before that, I was very sure that I'll be working only in theater. And once I started working in films, I realized that that's a space that I enjoy. And I think the second major breakthrough happened with Ankhon Dekhi, which was my first Indian film. And because of the fact that the film was so well received and it's a critically acclaimed film and appreciated all over the world and even taught in film schools now. So I think I am really proud to be a part of my first two major films.
I'm just saying this because you're into lots and lots of different things, and I'm seeing you on Facebook, also part of Pad's squad. Tell us two words about this. It's super important. We're going through the crisis, COVID in India. You've got links that we're going to be putting up on the festival so that people can contribute, so that people can help you. Just give me a few lines on this. The Pad Squad. What is it? How can we help?
Yes, very briefly about Pat Squad, of which I'm really proud of. It's an initiative to look after the menstrual hygiene and health of women. Basically, the women who lost their jobs, livelihood, and were not in a position to buy sanitary pads. So we collect sanitary pads, and we are in 25 cities all over India. We have 55 volunteers working all over India, and we've also had now Pat Squadron in Africa and Japan who've joined us and are replicating the same. So basically, you can just order pads online or send us a donation, and we go and distribute them in the slums.
So
So,
we're going to be sharing this on the festival page. We're going to be sharing this. How does uh, an actress, a well-known actress in India, get into something like this during the crisis? Why is it important for you? You're working on lots of projects, you're doing lots of different things, and then there comes along these needs. And with Chitra, who's also, well, she's a producer, Dave, who's a filmmaker, all of you've got together in Mumbai, and all this beautiful energy and work. Why is it important to be part of this?
well, I think being part of something like this and just making my little effort, I always think that these efforts are really small, to do something for the people who need help. I think that comes in the genes, because my father's always been working for the people. He's been a huge social worker, and he comes from times when there was no social media. So even as his kids, we were never aware of the hundred things that he was going out and doing for the people. And the lockdown gave us and me a kind of opportunity where we got break and we had the time to be at home and to look around and see what was happening to the people around us when they were losing their jobs, not earning a livelihood. And you know the kind of population we have in India, so the numbers is huge, the requirement is huge, and all thanks to Devashish Makhija, who put all of us, these 8 to 10 amazing women, together. And we just went out every day to just distribute groceries, provide the essential items. And then this whole thing happened with me, Chitra Subramanyam, and 7, 8 amazing other women. We all came together, put in our efforts. And I think it's very simple that when you really feel, you can just make, I mean, it can be a drop in the ocean, but every drops make the ocean. So even if you do one little act of kindness, just go. So what we do now, we just put some packets of rice or dal or groceries in the car. So when you're going out, just hand over some packets to someone who might need it, and they're just going to give you their blessings. So it can be as small as that.
Because we're seeing that with the crisis, we're seeing something beautiful, huh? With we had the migrant workers going back home, and it was heartbreaking to see what we saw with that part. But there's also the good side to things with all these beautiful actions that are coming up. Um, with the film industry, yeah, going out there because it's dangerous. I'm saying there's contagion as well. So one has to be careful. One needs to protect oneself, but you're sending out a beautiful message of solidarity. Yeah? And there's hope and there's solidarity so that people stay positive in a way. Yeah? I think it's very, very important that people stay positive, looking at what you're doing, all of you. Huh?
I just have one line to add here, Sonia. I think two things. First thing is that when the first time we stepped out of our houses, because we all have families and parents and spouses, so they were equally concerned about our well-being. But I think we took it upon ourselves, thinking that just like the doctors and nurses are going and helping the patients, this is a part of essential services, what we are doing. If people need help and we are able to provide them help, we must do it. then I think whatever's happening, I realize that people are full of so much love and kindness. Whatever we are doing is only because of that every single donor, including you. You've been supporting us and helping us in all through these months. It's because of every single person who's sent us that donation and thought that they want to help. And if they were not doing this, it was not possible for us to do it alone. So I realized that people are full of so much kindness. They just don't know where and how to go and help people. So that's what I have discovered in the lockdown, that there is so much love within us, and we just need to get out and share it with other people.
It's beautiful what you've just said, and I hope this message gets across and people join and contribute. But coming back to films, we're going to see a lot of this in the future films. These subjects, what we're living
Yes.
through, these experiences are going to be, they're engraved forever, and they're going to be coming back in the stories that are coming up. And what's going to be inspiring everyone for the future short films or feature films. So that's interesting as well. There's lots to explore in what's happened and what the world is going through, because we're not going to be the same before and after. A lot of us believe that there's going to be something will have changed. We have changed. Meanwhile, your writing, come back to Ankhon Dekhi. Tell us a little bit about this experience and how it happened, because it's such a big, beautiful film. How does that happen? How do you get the story? How does it come to you? And how do you accept?
Okay, so I'm going to be really honest about this. I have strong belief in, whatever we say and whatever message we give to the universe, that's what happens to us. So before Ankhon Dekhi and before Raju, I had never said this to the universe that I want to be part of films. So that's why it never happened. And after I'd done Raju, I faced some health issues and some major health problems when the doctors told me that maybe you can just die in 6 months. And when I was sitting, I was going through that surgery, I was in the hospital, I told myself that if I'm going to die in 6 months, I'd better do what I'm supposed to do in life, because I feel all of us have come to this world, to this universe, and we have come with a mission. And it's important for us to be able to fulfill that mission. So I just put a note and put it in a box saying that I want to work in my first Hindi film. It may sound very silly. And within the next month, I met Rajat in one of the gatherings. I'd gone to see his play, and he was talking about the film that was going on floor, and I said, I want to be a part of your film. And he said, oh, you look too young, I need someone who's aged and who's been working all day. I said, but I come from theater, I can play any age. And he said, okay, then why don't you go audition? And as luck would have it, the auditions were happening in Delhi, I was in Kolkata, and next day I actually had a flight going to Delhi. And I said, yeah, I'm going to Delhi next morning. And I landed up giving the audition. Then, of course, it took a couple of weeks. They went to and fro because initially their team was, oh no, she's looking too young to play your wife. But as Rajat was so kind and he was very sure that he wanted me to play that character, and doing Ankhon Dekhi was a huge experience for me, for somebody. I had been doing theater, but being a part of cinema and being a part of film where you had all these stalwarts like Sanjay Mishra and Seema Pava and so many others who played the friends, and everyone came with huge experience in cinema. So we were like one big happy family. Like we just wanted to be on the set all the time. No one wanted to ever go back to the hotel like it always happens in films, that you do your day schedule and you go back. So we really bonded very well in that film.
So it's good because all this comes across, but then also the story and the positivity and the love that there is and everything that goes into this, all the energy that's gone into this also brings what comes after, right?
Yeah.
And the success of the film. So how do you explain
Absolutely.
that?
I think the bonding that we developed as actor during the shoot of the film, that comes across so well in that film. You can see that we actually look like that we've been living together for years, and we connected so well. And also, I think huge credit to Rajat Kapoor for writing an amazing script. I think I just absolutely love it. And that script is being taught in film schools here. And the way it's executed, having the best sound design from Rasul Pakuti, Rafi Mahmood doing the camera. So everything translated so well, and that's what made for a very beautiful film with a beautiful message that believe in what you see, don't believe the rumors. So it was a collection of lot of things, and of course, this kind of film happens to you once in a lifetime, and you cherish that experience for the rest of your life. Yeah.
So that's a beautiful and interesting experience that you had, which then, as I said, and I was speaking to Tanishta, who goes from actor to writing, and from writing to obviously direction. We know you as an actress, and then but few people may not know that you're also a poet. And so there's these skills there as well. How did you get to poetry? Because poetry now has led also with your love for writing to your writing your short film. And who knows in the future where this may lead? Maybe direction one day. So how did you get into poetry?
So poetry, Sonia, it happened to me like as early I was 10 years old when I started writing poetry. But of course, like most of the people who write, it just I mean, you just write for your own consumption or to share with your friends or your family. But it's something like this happened about 2 years ago when I was already doing films. And when I came to Mumbai, I was very clear that I wanted to be part of films that can bring some kind of social change. Like I grew up on watching films. I was totally in awe of actors like Deepti Naval, Shabana Azmi, Smita Patil. And I thought I would be a part of those films. And there was some amazing film made in 70s and 80s. But somehow I felt that there was something missing and in my life, and that's when the poetry scene started blooming in Mumbai as well as across the globe. And I understood that this medium has a global reach. Like you can be releasing one poem today and it can reach anywhere across the world. And that's when I started following the poetry scene, bombarding them with emails of my poetry. First 1 year just went into trying to understand where to perform, because I was already acting, so I did not have the time to always go to open mics and perform. And finally, I got invited and featured in one of the shows with Anir's poetry. That's when I performed I'm Not a Virgin, and which has now more than 4 million views. And
Yes,
yes,
tell
that's
us about
how.
that. Tell us about that. Tell us quickly about that.
Uh, yes, so this was a poem I'd written and I'd sent to Anirez, and they were initially thinking, oh, whether to do it or not. But it went through a couple of drafts and changes, 4 5 drafts, and yes, and the poetry release. And that's when I was visiting Cannes last year. That's when it had just released, and it got a huge response. The interesting part was, like, initially some people had commented that, oh, nobody takes a virginity test and this is not relevant right now. But you would be amazed that the kind of messages I was bombarded with on YouTube, on my Facebook, on Instagram, women writing to me from villages from different parts of the world, saying that they have gone through this and how their families question them and how they look down upon if they feel that this woman's not a virgin. So sometimes living in cities, we may feel that no, something like this does not exist anymore, but actually that is the reality of millions of women all over the world. So yes, I think for me it's really important. I've been passionate to talk about women issues, and for me, being a woman, I think as long as there is some kind of inequality anywhere in the world, I think it becomes our duty to talk about it, to raise a voice and fight for our rights. And I think we still have a very long way to go.
Taranjit, you feel that, see, you've got no barriers, you've got no boundaries in what you want to do. And it's very courageous. I say bravo for this. I say, I mean, hats off, because coming into the cinema world and being an actress is super difficult, super hard. And then you've got all these other sides where you're doing poetry, but not just any poetry. You're doing poetry, but speaking about, very important issues, and issues that are not going to flatter anyone's ego. You're bringing up these very strong messages, so that these choices, these messages, even what you're going to be saying in your short films, every direction, every choice you're taking, and that's what we also discussed with Janishta, puts us into a certain position, which might be a position which is difficult. Not so many projects coming your way for one reason or the other. You're not the typical actress. So I'm saying that, does this, create a kind of a problem, and say to you that I need to create my own sphere, my own space, if I want to do things, if I want to be in films, because there's a risk. You speak up, you speak out, you stand up. And we know also, with the situation in India right now, we also know how difficult it is for people to express themselves. All this coming together, what is your position? You've taken and made difficult choices, right?
I think all this, you develop all the courage and become brave in life because of certain decisions you take in life. Because you always have two roads and you have to choose which road you want to take. You can either be sitting silently at home and just doing your job, like doing your work as an actor, going for the shoot, coming back home, sleeping well at night. Or you can be this person who cannot sleep because of their things that are going wrong in the world. And I think I come from that part of people, that group of people who get sleepless nights when there's something going wrong in the world. A lot of it, I think, I give credit to my father. A lot of courage comes from being his daughter, where we've always been taught to stand up for the rights, to raise our voice if something's going wrong. Yes, of course, it's difficult being an actor, difficult when you come with no contacts in the film industry. Initially, when you come, you just feel lost. You don't know where to go. I'm not 20, so I did not come and get roles to play the lead, to be in the space where I could say, wow, I've arrived. So it's always been a struggle also, because I chose to say no to a lot of films which I felt that I do not belong to the cinema. But I think when I took a decision of sharing my poetry with the world, that was the time I decided that I'm going to speak up now. And once I decided to speak up, I think there was no looking back, because with the very first poem which I released, I'm Not a Virgin, I knew that I could be thrashed right, left, and center. And I was trolled very badly. Even now, there are more trollers on the video than people appreciating. But surprisingly, even I thought that maybe it will unnerve me. But surprisingly, whenever I look at the trolls, first, I do not read those comments. But when I'm trolled, I just look at it and smile that, okay, someone sitting in some village in X state has taken out time to look into this video and heard what I'm trying to say. And that's the main purpose. When you are part of an artistic medium, whether it be poetry or filmmaking, I think something I've not shared with you, I also, before I acted in films, I was making documentaries. And when you choose to delve into any space of art and you decide to convey what you want to convey through your art, you have to take that call if you want to be brave and you want to be fearless. And I think that's just a choice you make.
But it's very interesting and it's positive. It's a very important message of hope to everybody else to everyone else coming into acting, dreaming of roles, not only roles, being famous. Today, it's not that much linked with celebrity. Yeah, being a celebrity, I think it's you're taking it one step further to say that yes, there has to be a purpose. It's more than just acting in a film and then lock the door and go back home. A whole reflection, a whole purpose, a whole sense of creation, a whole sense of giving, taking, exchanging, meeting, the journey, yeah, and how it fulfills people as they evolve, as they go, so that they grow. And a very, very, very important lesson and message to everybody at the same time. Tell us a little bit about, so all these things obviously then bring other short films, and the other short film that is coming, tell us a little bit about this one.
Yes.
That you've written.
Yeah, so Love, Sex, Soprano is the name of the short film that's releasing very soon. This film happened, I had written a series of poems which were mostly telling stories revolving around women as protagonists, their stories, their thoughts. And once I'd completed writing, I realized that I see a film in this. And that's when I spoke to my friend Srimoy Bhattacharya, who I'm very fond of and I love her as a director. And I said, can we make a film out of this? And then we started exchanging. And she says, you have a reference? And I had a picture, a photograph as a reference. And I says, I see a woman lying down under an open sky in the middle of nature. That's the only reference I gave her. And I really admire how she converted the whole text into a film, and that's everything is her contribution. And I was in Cannes last year with the short film, wanting to make a series of 10 such short films with different women's stories, everything talking about a different thing. And of course, things would have fallen in place if we had not had a lockdown, and we would be shooting those films now. But since all this happened, what happened in the last 6 months, it happened globally. So we thought we should go ahead and release the film. So Love, Sex, Soprano is basically the story of one woman from puberty to adulthood. How, when we are young, our whole vision of love and sex is very romantic, and we always have a romantic viewpoint of the person we're going to meet. And then she meets a person and goes through a very destructive relationship. And then it's a whole self actualization, reaching a point where you realize that a point of self love, and you realize that you are enough for yourself. I mean, if you can begin to love yourself and loving every single part of your soul and your body, you do not look for validation, you do not look for love outside. And yes, that's the kind of conversation and idea behind this film. And I'm really looking forward to, let's see what kind of response we get
So
from the audience.
it came quite quickly, yeah, between the time you wrote it and everything that happened. Everything just it fell into place, huh? Quite quickly.
Yeah, not that quickly. We had couple of weeks of discussions between me and Srimoy, and then putting the whole team together. But I think I have to say thanks to the whole team, especially the DOP, Prashant Dandekar, that he converted the text into a film which actually looks like poetry on a screen. And
How
we had a beautiful
interesting.
team. Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
And we also look forward to making 10 more films with the text we have. If we find someone to collaborate with us, it would be amazing.
Good. Okay, sending this message across, huh?
Yes.
Please watch and please see and get back, huh, so that Taranjit can go forward with this project. Taranjit, we're going to have the luck, and we're fortunate to have you say this poem for us that you've proposed, and we're ready to hear you. Huh?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, what is this?
So the title of the poem is I'm Not a Virgin. This was the first poem I released and performed for Aniray's Poetry, and it released on YouTube and across different platforms and has received a wonderful response. So here it is. I remember as a young girl, I was told not to play sports that are too aggressive or to do anything that was too physical. I wondered why, but I broke the norms and did them all. Dancing, jumping, skipping, followed my heart and did everything that was my calling. But as I grew up, like all young girls, my parents found a match for me. And before I knew, they were putting vatna on me. Not so that my skin glows on that day, but they thought that my brown skin might become a little whiter. I was given a red sari with sequins, as red is the color of passion, but the sequins still hurt. And you have to stay like that all through the day. Now, after an endless day of rituals, I left my home and entered his. And I was told that from today, this is your house and this is where you have to stay. As I sat there, tired, after a long day, the women came, pulled me, and took me to his bedroom. They giggled as they pushed me in. The room smelled of rose petals spread all over the bed, and some strings hanging from the ceiling above my head. As I moved the petals and made some space to sit, I noticed the white sheets. White, sparkling white, not a dot on it, like they show in detergent ads. I sat there with anticipation when he would come. If he would make love or have sex was not my choice back then. He would come, undress, and once he's done, he would move his hands on the sheets as if he were inspecting. Maybe they liked the touch of blood on their hands. But what if he found none? What if I did not bleed? If I'd lost my hymen to dance or sports or whatever? No one will ever know. And then, in the morning, when the women would come back, their jaws would drop once they see the sheets as white as before. And then maybe they would wrap me up in those sheets and it would become my shroud. And then from my grave, I would scream. My blood, my voice would be heard, but my blood won't be seen. As I sat there, reflecting all this, I wondered if they would have liked to put a lock on my hymen or to tie my feet, so I never opened my legs. Maybe God was also a man that he gave me a hymen and not to him. It's time to rewrite the history. Stop women from giving this virginity test. Can I just call her Mary and not virgin? Can Sita stop proving her integrity? Can I say no before giving this virginity test? Because it's my body and I will do as I please. As I sat there, wondering all this, the door opened. He came in. As I looked at the footsteps approaching me, I wondered if I could quickly get up and change the sheets.
Wonderful, beautiful. No? It's a beautiful present. It's 2020. We set this just before we began, and the choice of this poem is so important because in France, a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about doctors not wanting to do virginity tests in France in 2020 and saying this or that community, if they want these tests just before, you know, the marriage of their kids, etc., they've got to, this cannot be in France. It's not in the constitution and it's not going to be here. So that's an important message linked with what's happening all over the world, what's happening in India, and that it's time for change and to take things forward. It's really, really important, so that people know that everyone is not going to accept this, and that people like you uh, need this message to get across and need to bring this change. Obviously, we say everything depends on politicians, but with doctors saying it now, it's going to bring something, to the table with proper solid discussions, and say, we refuse to perform this, we don't want to do this. So if that happens, then that's a step forward as well. And I'd like to send this poem to whoever doctors are conducting this protest in France, and send them the link so that they have a look, and they can hear this and see this, because it's important to feel that, well, it's that one voice all over the world against a couple of things, and that we're powerful. People don't feel we're powerful, but we are. Thank you so much, Taranjit. It's so good to have this positive energy, to see you do things, to see that there's hope for women, there's hope for girls, knowing that you're contributing to so many beautiful, energetic projects in Mumbai during the crisis, to know that for filmmakers, hope, so that there's all these young actresses and filmmakers who feel that I too can succeed, I too can choose what I want, even if the choices are difficult. I think that it's important to inspire, and you're an inspiration for that. And it's important to continue writing, to not give up the hope with the crisis, and say it's difficult and we're letting ourselves go, and we're not keeping our energy with building and creating. So all this is extremely important, and the messages that you're sending with everything that you're doing, with being at Grenoble Indian Film Festival today with us, is a message of hope. It's a message of energy. It's a message of love, that we need. Cinema is something that's going to take people forward. Everybody turned to cinema. Everyone turned to the platforms, to films, while we were in lockdown, because this part of culture is what helps people grow as well, right? And we're extremely grateful, so thankful to you for being with us, for sharing all this with us. We are going to be sharing your trailer of your short film, and telling Grenoble Indian Film Festival viewers that when your film is releasing in November, we'll be relaying that link, so that everybody gets to see it here as well. We need to know that people are making films, and that you're thinking of us, and then we're also thinking of you. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you for having given us this
Thank
precious
you so
moment.
much. Thank you so much, Sonia, for having me. And I also want to add that I'm so proud of you, and really so inspired by you every day, all the work that you have been doing during the time of COVID. And you've been so concerned and so caring for each and every person's health, not only in France, but also in India. And you've been giving some beautiful messages. I think you must have been one of the first persons to contact me, and you just need that little push, that get up, let's do something. And you've been a very important part of my journey during the time of lockdown. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and thanks from bringing these amazing films from India, and being a huge support for us Indians being there in France. So it
But
really
Taranjit,
means a lot.
we're expecting you in Grenoble soon now.
Yes,
Okay, so you're
yeah.
preparing, or you got a year or a little bit over that to prepare
Sure.
everything, huh? Because
Yes,
that's exactly the time we're going to need. And then we say all these things, and time flies, right? So
right.
time is going to fly. You're going to be doing your projects. We're going to be doing our projects, and then before we know it, it'll be 2021. So we
Yes.
got little time left, huh? And I'm expected to see you at Cannes again with other
Yes,
new things that you're bringing. So don't stop making, don't stop creating, and giving us beautiful things.
Absolutely. I look forward to being in Cannes and being at your festival very soon in 2021. And there is a whole series of films that I've worked in that are in post production. And I'm sure they will all be ready by 2021. So looking forward to being there.
Well, we're totally looking forward to seeing everything that's coming, huh? Everything that's coming.
Thank you.
Your message as well. You've done a beautiful special message for us. We waited for the right moment so that we could post it because we knew this crisis was going to be long, and so we're also thankful for that because all these messages, everything you've done is super important and will contribute, boost our energy, yeah, and help us.
Thank you
Thanks.
so
We love
much.
you, Taranjit, and look
Love you,
forward to
Sonia.
seeing you in person. Meanwhile, please stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
A bientôt.